During the medieval period, particularly at the height of the Crusades, a unique form of religious and military institution emerged, the military order. These groups of warrior monks took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, much like monastic orders. But unlike traditional monks, they also bore arms, fortified cities, and fought in battles. Their purpose was twofold: to defend Christian territory and faith, and to support pilgrims in the Holy Land. These orders left a profound impact on both religious and military history, and many of them would continue to exist in different forms long after the Crusades had ended. Let's take a detailed look at the major orders that arose during this time, starting with the most famous and expanding through lesser-known yet significant organizations. The Order of St Lazarus was established in the early 12th century with a particularly unique and noble mission. Unlike other orders that focused solely on military endeavors, the Order of St Lazarus focused primarily on caring for people with leprosy, a devastating and highly stigmatized disease in the Middle Ages. Their headquarters were located in Jerusalem, and they developed a network of hospitals, often called leprosaria, throughout the Crusader states. These institutions not only provided treatment and shelter to the afflicted, but also gave them a dignified place within the Christian community, which was rare for the time. What's remarkable is that many of the knights themselves were lepers, warriors who continued to serve in combat and charity, even as they suffered from the disease. In addition to care work, the Order of St Lazarus also contributed to military efforts. They fought to defend the Crusader states and supported larger orders like the Hospitalas and Templars in campaigns across the Holy Land. Over time, their military role diminished, but their tradition of compassion and medical care continued. The legacy of the Lazarites represents one of the more humane and charitable expressions of religious duty during the Crusades. The Knights Hospitala, also known as the Order of St John of Jerusalem, were founded around the time of the First Crusade in 1099. Initially, they were not intended to be a military order. Under the leadership of Gerard de Mahuet, they began as a group of monks operating a hospital in Jerusalem to care for sick and injured pilgrims. However, as threats to pilgrims increased, the order evolved into a military organization. Under Raymond Dupuy, its second leader, the Hospitalas began to arm themselves and accompany pilgrims on dangerous roads. This marked their transition from purely charitable caregivers into a powerful military order. The Knights Hospitaller distinguished themselves in battles such as the Siege of Acre and the Battle of Arsuf, where they fought alongside King Richard the Lionheart. Their soldiers were known for discipline, skill in combat, and black mantles bearing a white eight-pointed cross, an enduring symbol of their faith and service. After Jerusalem fell in 1187, the Hospitallers relocated to Rhodes and later Malta, where they defended Christian Europe from Ottoman expansion for centuries. Even after their military role diminished, the order endured as a humanitarian and medical organization. Today, it survives as the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, with charitable missions in over 100 countries. Founded in 1119 by Hugues de Payen, the Knights Templar began as a small group of knights dedicated to protecting Christian pilgrims on their way to Jerusalem. They took vows of poverty and chastity, and initially lived humbly in the former Al-Aqsa Mosque, believed by many Crusaders to be the ruins of King Solomon's temple, hence their name, the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. Despite their humble beginnings, the Templars quickly gained papal endorsement and financial support from across Europe. They soon became one of the most powerful and wealthy institutions in Christendom. Not only were they a formidable military force, feared by Muslim armies and respected by Christian kings, but they also became early pioneers of banking, enabling pilgrims to deposit money in one location and withdraw it in another, reducing the risk of robbery on long journeys. Templars were involved in many key Crusader victories, including the Battle of Montgisard, and played a critical role in defending Christian strongholds throughout the Holy Land. However, their immense wealth and independence eventually drew the ire of secular rulers. In 1307, under pressure from King Philip IV of France, the order was accused of heresy, tortured, and disbanded by Pope Clement V in 1312. Their final Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake in Paris. Despite their tragic end, the Templars have become one of the most mythologized groups in Western history, subjects of countless legends, books, and conspiracy theories. The Teutonic Knights were founded during the Siege of Acre in 1190 to serve the needs of German pilgrims and crusaders. Initially, like the Hospitallers, they focused on medical and charitable work. However, they soon transitioned into a militarized order with ambitions beyond the Holy Land. After being expelled from Hungary for attempting to establish an independent state, the Teutonic Knights accepted an invitation from Duke Conrad of Masovia to Christianize the pagan Prussians. This led to their military campaigns across what is now Poland, Lithuania, and the Baltic states. They established a monastic state, governed by a Grand Master, which became a dominant power in the region. Their campaigns were brutal and prolonged, often involving forced conversions and the building of massive stone fortresses, many of which still stand today. Their ambitions, however, drew the attention and opposition of neighboring kingdoms. In 1410, they suffered a catastrophic defeat at the Battle of Grunwald, also known as Tannenberg, which marked the beginning of their decline. By 1525, the Order's Grand Master Albert of Brandenburg had converted to Lutheranism and secularized their remaining territory into the Duchy of Prussia. Although the Order still exists today in a symbolic and charitable capacity, its military and political power ended long ago. One of the oldest surviving military orders, the Order of the Holy Sepulchre, was founded around 1099 during the First Crusade, likely by Godfrey of Bouillon after the capture of Jerusalem. Its original purpose was to protect the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, believed to house the sites of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. Though it was never as militarized or influential as the Templars or Hospitalas, it played an important role in defending Christian religious sites and assisting pilgrims. After the fall of Jerusalem in 1187, the Order shifted focus to Europe, maintaining priories and supporting the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. Today, it survives as a papal order of knighthood, with members engaged in charitable and religious work in support of Christians in the Holy Land. In the Iberian Peninsula, military orders were formed not just for the Crusades in the east, but to fight in the Reconquista, the long Christian campaign to retake territory from Muslim rule in Spain. One of the most prominent of these was the Order of Santiago, founded in 1170 and named after St. James the Greater, patron saint of Spain. The order protected Christian pilgrims traveling to the shrine of Santiago de Compostela and fought in campaigns against the Moors. Unique among crusading orders, the Order of Santiago allowed its knights to marry, reflecting the Iberian approach to combining religious service with noble obligations. At its peak, the order controlled over 400 estates and could muster a formidable military force. In later centuries, it was incorporated into the Spanish monarchy, but it continues to exist today as a Catholic religious and noble order. Another Spanish order, Calatrava, was founded in 1158 by Raymond of Fitero to defend the town of Calatrava on the frontier of Castile. It received papal approval and quickly gained territory and influence. Calatrava played a central role in the Reconquista, providing troops, leadership and fortifications in the Christian push southward. Like other Iberian orders, it eventually lost autonomy and was absorbed into the Spanish crown. The Order of Alcantara, originally called the Knights of St. Julian, was established in the late 12th century in the Kingdom of Leon. Its main task was to defend the Christian frontier in western Spain. However, the order suffered from internal divisions and leadership disputes. It declined during the Black Death and the waning of Muslim power in Spain, and it too was eventually incorporated into the monarchy. Founded in the Kingdom of Aragon around 1180, the Order of Mountjoy was named after the hill near Jerusalem, where Crusaders first glimpsed the city. Though they participated in campaigns such as the Battle of Hattin, they were nearly wiped out in the aftermath. The remaining members eventually merged with other orders, including the Templars and the Order of Calatrava. Named in honor of St. Thomas Becket, the Order of St. Thomas of Acre was founded during the Crusades, based in the city of Acre. Though they did take part in military action, especially during the defense of Acre, they were never as prominent or well-funded as the major orders. After the fall of Acre in 1291, the order faded into obscurity, eventually ceasing to exist in any military form. Finally, we have the Order of Dobrzyń, a short-lived Polish military order founded during the Prussian Crusade in the early 13th century. It never numbered more than 35 knights and was created as a localized force to Christianize pagan Prussia. In 1235, it was absorbed into the Teutonic Order, but it remains a notable example of how regional powers sought to emulate the larger military orders. Together, these orders helped shape the medieval world. They combined faith, war, healing, and governance in ways unmatched by any other institutions of their time. From Jerusalem to Spain, from the Baltic to Acre, these military orders left behind not only castles and hospitals, but also traditions of service, charity, and duty. Many still exist today, not as warriors, but as caretakers of history and faith.